Welcome to the Wealth Studying Podcast. This is episode 503. Today is December 12th, 2025. I'm your host, John Pugliano. I'm also the founder and money manager at investablewealth.com. Well, today we're going to cover a topic that I get a lot of questions on, and that's about going to college. It's such a special topic. I brought in a co-host to give me some expertise on it. Before I introduce him, I do want to set this up to tell you what we are and aren't going to talk about. So this is not a debate about whether you should or shouldn't go to college. You know, that's always a big topic lately and a lot of drama about it where people are absolutely convinced you have to or you shouldn't or whatever. Hey, listen, it's very circumstantial. It's all about you. You know that I'm a big fan of careers like electricians or different trades where you don't necessarily have to go to a 4-year college or a 2-year college, to get into those programs. But at the same time, while college isn't appropriate for everyone, it is appropriate for some people or some fields. So this is not a debate about whether you should or shouldn't go to college. This episode is all about if you've made up your mind that you're going to go, then I've got 4 strategies for you that I think will help you with success, not only in going to college, but more importantly, in building wealth after college. Okay, so with all that, let me introduce my co-host today. You've heard him before. It's my son, Joe. Joe, welcome back to the Wealth Studying Podcast.
Hey, great to be here. Happy to be back.
Okay, Joe, well, we're not going to talk about sports today, but let's jump right into this. Did you go to college?
I did. I went to a 4-year university.
And you're a millennial. How old are you?
I'm about to turn 32.
Okay, you're about to turn 32, so you've got some years under your belt. So we're going to go over 4 things that worked for you. They also worked for me way back, 40 years ago. And for the Gen Zs and the people coming up now, these 4 strategies are going to work for them as well. What's the first tip you have for everybody?
Get a marketable degree.
Okay, what do you mean by marketable degree?
Be able to get a job right after school and earn an income.
Okay, so what was the marketable degree that you got?
Computer science.
And were you able to get a job right out of college?
Yes, and I actually, before I even graduated, was able to get a few internships that paid me while I was in school and eventually hired me when I graduated.
Okay, good. And we're going to get to that for maybe one of the other strategies, so we'll hold off on that part. But marketable degree. So does it only have to be computer science? Hey, right now I hear all these things about AI's taking all the programming jobs. What do you think about that?
I use AI every day, and I'll tell you what, it's nowhere close to taking my job.
Okay, and then beyond computer science, that's not for everybody. What else would you think is a marketable 4-year degree?
If it has engineering in the title and not some BS engineering degree like social engineering, it's probably okay. There's also others in the medical field, such as nursing, doctors, medical technologists. Right now, supply chain and logistics is a high demand field.
Yeah, so pretty much all the things you talked about are problem solvers, whether they're engineers or nurses or doctors or people that can put the puzzles together for, supply chain issues. It's really about learning a skill that solves real world problems.
Absolutely.
Okay, so get a marketable degree. What about your second tip? What do you say there?
Go to an affordable school.
Okay, affordable is relative. So what you paid 10 years ago isn't relative to today, and certainly what I paid, 40 some years ago isn't relative, but you and I both went to what could be considered affordable schools. And really what we mean by that is the return on investment. How long is it going to take you in your marketable skill, that job that you eventually get? How long is it going to take you in that job to pay off your tuition or, in comparable terms? So that's what we're talking about with affordability. But I like the way you did phrase it with affordability because there is a great value difference between schools. If you look at, for example, we're in the state of Utah. There's the University of Utah, and then there's also Utah State. There's a difference in the cost of those two. Do you necessarily get a better degree going to one than the other?
Well, I went to the University of Utah, and I would argue it is a better degree there. Like you said, there are multiple different universities here, specifically in Utah. University of Utah was not the cheapest. It's probably on the more expensive side.
For the state of Utah,
For the state of Utah.
But still considerably more affordable than even the state school. Like I went to Penn State years ago. The difference today of whatever Penn State charges, even for in-state students, compared to what the University of Utah charges is considerably more expensive.
Yeah, it is. The University of Utah, it is a little bit more expensive than Utah State or Utah Valley University here as well. But I would argue the University of Utah provided me with more opportunities post-graduation than I think I would have got at other universities.
Absolutely. And likewise, we're talking affordability here. So Stanford or MIT is going to be a top of the line university. But the point I want to make is that, if you're not Einstein, then there are probably much more affordable universities where you can still get a quality engineering or medical degree or whatever, which cost a lot less. And for the most part, once you get out in the job market, it's more about what you do than specifically what university you went to. And again, I'm not going to argue the fact that, absolutely Stanford, big time credentials, it's going to open a lot of doors for you. But if you can't afford that and you have the ability to go to Georgia State and it can save you a lot of money, you may be better off doing it that way. One thing I want to mention, there's more affordable schools like the University of Utah or like the University of North Dakota. And you're saying, well, you live in New Jersey and schools there are crazy expensive. Well, they generally are on the East Coast. And that's why you should look at, maybe coming out west. And a lot of these universities, they're happy to get students from out of state and give them in-state tuition rates, especially if you can score decently on, the entrance exams. And even if that's not the case, they'll oftentimes give you a break the first year and you can come out and, file for residency while you're in that state. So learn how to work the system and don't just think you have to go to the most expensive school that's the closest to your home. Because again, it all comes back to that return on investment. And return on investment, if you look at all the money that you spent in tuition, how long did it take you in your first job to pay that back?
It took me about 6 months.
That's really incredible. But we're also here just talking about tuition. We're not talking about opportunity costs, or we're not talking about room and board. And, room and board, you got to live somewhere anyways. But just in terms of tuition. So it only took you 6 months to pay off all your tuition. Well, let me jump back here. Joe, come on. You have a wealthy father. You're probably a spoiled kid that you don't even pay your own tuition, right?
Have you met my dad? The reason he has so much money is because he didn't spoil his kids.
Well, exactly. You did work and pay for your own school. And just as a parenting tip, I would encourage parents out there that even if you're going to help your kids out, make sure they are kicking in the majority of the money because they'll appreciate it more. But that's a digression there. So, but you're telling me really, it only took you 6 months of salary to pay off a 4-year tuition.
Yes. Yeah, and it's even better than that. Within 2 years of starting my career, I was making double the salary of when I started.
So then effectively, it was really like 3 months of your pay.
Exactly.
Just to pay off your tuition. So I guess in your case, you're not going to be 50 years old with student loan debts.
No. And in fact, I graduated without any school debt.
Yeah. Okay. So you are a Wellsteader. Let's talk a little bit about that because that's really the third tip you want to give to people, which is
work while you're in school and try to get an internship if you can.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that you graduated without any student loan debt because you made enough money to actually pay for your tuition while you were going to school. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Again, so did you work for your dad because he gave you some cushy job?
Once again, have you met my father? I had a number of jobs throughout school. First, I started out Chick-fil-A, and then I got a job on campus at the laboratory that they have there. And eventually, I got into an internship that paid me competitively a good salary while I was in school as well. I actually had 2 internships while I was in school. The first opened the opportunity for my second internship, which when I graduated turned into a full-time job after graduation.
Yeah, so that's excellent. And that gets back to that second point of affordability, right? You went to a school that was reasonable prices. you got a marketable degree, so you were able to actually work during school to defer those costs. And then once you got out, it was also a high paying job that literally within a few months, you could pay off the entire 4 years had you not already done it. That's excellent. And then, Joe, what was your number 4th tip?
Graduate as soon as possible.
Absolutely. That's the same thing I did. What did it take you? Did you get out in 4 years?
I did. I did summer classes in order to be able to graduate in less than 4 years.
Excellent. And again, that's something I did, 40 years ago. So it's definitely something you can do today. And again, that's a major problem. I run into people that, they change their major or they do different things that they end up going to school for 6 or 7 years and just coming out with a 4-year degree, which isn't even marketable in a lot of cases.
And on that note, my university required 120 credits to graduate. Luckily, I knew what I wanted to do, so I didn't waste any time, but I graduated with 121 credits.
So you had a very efficient degree. You didn't take extra ballroom dancing or anything beyond what they made you take.
Absolutely not.
Hey, in any case, guys, listen, college isn't for everybody, but what I want to stress here at the end is that it is appropriate for no other reason than there are a lot of jobs that require you to have it, even though you don't necessarily need it. And that's where a lot of people just disregard college to begin with. They'll say, well, you really don't need it to, have that job. Well, that's true. But from a societal standpoint, it isn't true. It's a hurdle that they make you jump over. And if you abide by these 4 success tips that we just talked about, getting that marketable degree, graduating quickly, going to an affordable school, then the hurdle won't be as hard to get over. And you'll get out and you'll get a high paying job. And hopefully it's a career that you've picked that you're going to love. So, hey, that'll wrap it up for today. Joe, thanks for helping me out with this topic.
Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, and if you like hearing more from Joe and having the banter between the old boomer and the young millennial, let us know, and you'll probably hear more of Joe in 2026.
Until then, as always,
this is John and Joe Pugliano wishing you
the very best returns.